You just made my night. I've had a miserable day. That's funny. You're just like an airline's always late. Can you hear me okay? I always like to make sure everybody can hear me okay. That is so funny. So handsome. Oh, somebody's handsome. It can't be me. That is so funny. Always late. That's true. What a terrible, unbelievable, between Southwest canceling my flight and American Airlines, 2 flights today screwing up on me, those ass wipes. How do you do that? You talking to me, handsome man? No, stop it. You're making me turn red. You're going to make me blush. Anyway, how's everybody doing tonight? I know I've had a miserable... it's funny, the conferences I went on, they were excellent. The conferences were excellent. The traveling was the worst. It was terrible. Of course, between not having a bed the first night and then my flights getting canceled. Who taught me how to use TikTok? I know I'm terrible on TikTok. My daughter did. I don't know. On my own. Why? What am I doing wrong? Tell me what I'm doing wrong. I can take it. Who taught me how to use TikTok? What am I doing wrong? Oh. So Nutter, Butter, and Twix. You know what I like to eat. And of course, those are the worst things I can eat with my diabetes. Nutter, Butter, and Twix. I like that. Hello. I want to tell you something. There are some really creative names on TikTok. I love some of the names when people send me. I'm putting some music on in the background. I like that music on in the background. How I got started. Well, I'll tell you how I got started. Actually, it's funny. If you go way back in my very first video, it was my daughter. She did one of those trendy dances that they were doing back then. It was a trendy dance, and I did it with her. So then what happened was I put it on my TikTok. It was the only thing I had on my TikTok. And then what happened was we had a tenant, one of my tenants, who was aggravating me, so I aggravated them back by putting a dumpster in front of their car, and I put that on TikTok. That was like my second TikTok, and it went viral. It went crazy. So then I realized, hey, you know what? TikTok's kind of fun to put some stuff on. So ABM sign. Is that what it is? ABM sign? Thank you. I love watching you too, even though I can't see you. Charlotte, North Carolina, in the house. How you doing, Charlotte? But anyway, so everybody's been probably following my crazy antics the last couple of weeks. TikTok is like a video diary. You know, it's interesting. I thought about this today on the plane. You know, everyone says, he puts everything on there. But you know what? What's really cool is someday, my kids, their kids, my grandchildren, they'll be able to look back at all this stuff and see, what I was like at that. So I thought about that. It is a video diary, and that's why I don't mind doing it. Raleigh, North Carolina, how you doing? You and your husband are obsessed with me. Okay, well, don't be obsessed. It's okay. I don't mind stalkers, but obsession is a problem. But an actual tenant here. Okay, let's see. So an actual tenant is on here. What city do you live in? I want to ask you what house, what address you live in, what city. But yeah, no, that's why that's what I was thinking about today. That because these are all being saved on video, obviously forever, on TikTok, on YouTube. That again, my kids can look at them when they're older. They can show them. It's almost like home movies, and they can show them to their grandchildren later on. What's interesting is, when I go back 15, 16 years ago, before even TikTok was around, when my son was born, I videotape everything, and I narrate everything, just like I do now. So I have not changed my style. I can actually post a video from 15 years ago, and you guys will think that I'm posting a TikTok, because that's how I've always done it. I just, when I shoot a video, I like to narrate what's going on, and I've been doing it for 15 years. So it hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. So yeah, we have to keep the videos going. It's like forever. It's true, TikTok and YouTube is like a time capsule. It really is, because, it's like anything else. It's almost like we'll use another industry, like the pornography industry, where people from 30, 40 years ago made videos on VHS tapes, and they are timeless type of thing. Not that I watch those. I'm just using that as an example of something that's timeless and can go back and be watched years later. But yeah, so that's why I thought about it today. It was one of those things like, you know what? This is kind of cool because I'm making home movies without making home movies, so that's what I've been doing, Is it worth to open up ice cream stores? Yeah, I think so. In fact, we're opening up a fourth one. Well, I have an empty space that we just decided we're going to open up a fourth store. So what happens is that my ice cream stores, they're called Deer Hearts. They're a local chain of stores that was started by another couple. I bought the one store in 1998, and then of course from there I opened up more stores. I kept the same name. I bought the ice cream from the same distributor. But I sell Hershey's ice cream at my stores. I only sell a certain select flavors of Hershey ice cream, 10 or 12 flavors. What I'm doing is I'm going to do an experiment. I'm actually going to open up a Hershey's store, just Hershey's only. That's all I'm going to sell is the 38 flavors of Hershey's ice cream, hard ice cream, and soft ice cream, and it will be called Hershey's Ice Cream. And I'm going to try that as an experiment to see if that, in this particular location, if people will actually travel, there will be a destination store. So that's something that I'm going to be trying to do this coming summer, actually. So we'll see how that works out. It's something different. It's an experiment. It may not work. I think that it might work because it is a destination location. So for people that like Hershey's ice cream, being a name brand ice cream and a premium ice cream, I think it may work, but it may not. And if it doesn't, well, at least I tried. So I appreciate you saying you'd rather go to my store than Baskin-Robbins. The ice cream that we sell it's made by a local dairy, Bliss Dairy. It's made by a local dairy in Massachusetts, Attleboro, Massachusetts. Been buying it from them since I bought the ice cream shop. But we added some Hershey flavors a few years ago. Well, I'll tell you the story. It's a true story. So Bliss got sold out. Another company bought out Bliss. And when they bought out Bliss, they had some growing pains, and they couldn't get us all the flavors. So we were actually running out of flavors. Well, our customer, that was hurting us in the middle of summer, running out of flavors. So I then reached out to Hershey's to add some, similar flavors. Premium ice cream's a little bit more money, and I added Hershey's. And even when Bliss came back to full capacity, I kept Hershey's as an alternative, and Hershey's has taken off. It does really well. So that's why. So I have Hershey's in in 3 of my stores. I only have 10 or 12 flavors. But the Hershey's store, I will carry just Hershey's, all Hershey's. So Haagen-Dazs Ice Cream is interesting. So when I bought my ice cream shop in 1998, those owners did sell about 8 or 9 flavors of Haagen-Dazs. It was expensive ice cream, premium ice cream, excellent. But what I wanted to do is streamline everything. So I eliminated the Haagen-Dazs in the stores and just stayed with Bliss, which was a good move. It was a good move. Richie's Slush is very good. I've heard of Richie's Slush. It's very good and has a good reputation. It's in the scooping. So, it's funny. It's interesting in scooping ice cream. So, in scooping ice cream, we don't use the scoops that have the little thumb thing that, if the flapper. We don't use those kind of scoops. We use a solid scoop where you just keep rolling the scoop over the frozen ice cream and it creates the ball. And that's what we use. And it is in the scooping because you want to create a nice round ball of ice cream and put it in the cone. So it is about the scooping. It really is. What's the favorite business I own? Well, that's interesting. So I'll tell you what is not my favorite is the waste business. I like the ice cream business. The ice cream business is very good in the summer. I like it when it's open. I'm happy when it closes in November. It gives me a break for the winter. The reason why the ice cream business, I guess, is my favorite is because every customer, 999 out of 1,000 are happy customers. You always have a happy customer. Children, adults, elderly people. Everyone's happy customers in the ice cream business. So that right there makes it more satisfying. And it's not as stressful as the other businesses I have. That being said, the audiovisual business is the one I started at, when I was younger, when I was a kid. I've had it my whole life. So it's like my baby. I've had it. So that's why it's kind of my favorite. It's cool when I go to an event and I see the guys set up all the equipment like I used to set up and like I showed on TikTok, earlier this week. So I really get excited about that business. That's a great business as well. Real estate has become really I'm really starting to enjoy real estate even more now, though. even more than the audiovisual. Only because I don't have to travel for the real estate. I can stay home. And of course, look what happened with the traveling this week. So, and the real estate is nice because you fix up the building, you take care of it, and then you know what? Then it's just regular maintenance. I buy a lot of distressed properties, I fix them up, but then it's just maintenance at that point. Let's see. Yeah. So the rug rental company. So that was funny. So I was walking down the road last night with Rick in Miami. We were going to get something for dinner. And I looked quick. I looked up to the left quick. So I saw, rental rugs. So Rick says, no, the O's burned out and the I's burned out. And I looked back and said, oh, yeah, Oriental. Because I really thought it was rental rugs. I said, who rents rugs? So that was what happened there. So it was kind of funny. I mean, it was a realistic thing that happened. And it was just really funny how it struck me as rental rugs. I was like, who rents rugs? I mean, I rent audiovisual equipment, but who rents rugs? But, it's interesting because on TikTok today, a couple of people did make some comments because I try to read everything. Of course, I was on the plane. I had plenty of time. Obviously, there are commercial rug rental companies for restaurants, and lobbies. They rent those rugs. And then also movie sets. And also, really, and I should mention, in the audiovisual business, in the conference business, when they do the big exhibit halls and you walk into an exhibit hall, there's carpeting, that's all rented. So there are rug rental places out there, but that just struck me so funny being out there, in a residential on the street, rental rugs. I am all cleaned up. I'm looking sick. Or was I looking sick? You are all cleaned up, Jeff. Looking slick. Oh, all right, looking slick. I'm not sick. I guess with these glasses. So I appreciate that. I do feel a lot better tonight. I was tired. So the first night when I slept on the couch, I didn't get much sleep, obviously. Plus, I had to get up at 4 a.m. to get to the airport to get down to Miami. I did sleep very well last night, though. I got a good night's sleep, even though I had to get up at 4 o'clock this morning to go catch that stupid flight. Let me tell you about that. So, the hardest part of the property rental business, collecting rent. Yeah, I would say. I wouldn't even say that. It's probably the hardest part is an emergency repair. Somebody. Tonight, if somebody calls right now and the heat broke, they're getting the plumber over there. That's probably the hardest part. I wouldn't say collecting rent's not the collecting rent. Most people, 99 of 100, pay their rent, pay on time, don't even question it. So I would say the hardest part really is just maintenance. Taking care of the properties and maintaining them is the hardest part. So Ian and I guess could have cuddled. We talked about putting a row of pillows in the middle, but it didn't matter. The biggest problem with Ian is he keeps the room at 65 degrees. He keeps the room freezing cold. So I need to roll myself in a few blankets anyway. I had to get an extra couple of comforters because whenever I travel with him, he keeps the room cold. And I will say, when I do go on a show, I do consider myself a guest, believe it or not, in the room because the show managers are there for a week. They're working hard. They are working 14, 15-hour days. They really are. So when I go, I'm a guest. So I don't try to disrupt their routine in any way. And I will tell you a funny Ian story. So we went to New Orleans a couple of years ago, just before COVID. We had a big show in New Orleans. So it was me, Ian, and what happened was the show was so big that I brought some extra people with me, laborers. I took some of my construction guys with me. They never get to travel, so when there's a show where we just need laborers to move equipment in and out and help set up, I'll bring my construction guys, and they like it because they get a free trip. So we brought Dwayne. Dwayne's a character. He's been with me almost 20 years now. He's my foreman. So he came on the show, and Dwayne's like 62 now, 63 years old, and he's a character. He's a real character, good sense of humor. So here's the story. So in that particular room, we had 2 beds and we had a cot. So I stayed on the cot and at the edge of the beds. And Ian and Dwayne went out that night. We all went out. But I came back early because I had to get up at 4 to set up some sound equipment in the morning. So I get woken up at like 2 in the morning to a smash. And I go in the bathroom. There's Dwayne. Dwayne's on the floor. He fell in the bathroom. They I guess had a little too much to drink. And he grabbed the shower curtain, and it came down with him. And he was laying on the floor, and he slept with the shower curtain with him on all night. So then what happened was I got up at 6 in the morning to go take a shower, and then it's Dwayne laying on his bed completely naked, just laying on the bed. So we have some funny stories when we travel, but it's really cool that when I take the construction guys, because it's fun to see them out with us in a whole different light. So anyway, so that's why when I go on a show, I'm a guest. I'm usually there for a day or two at the most, and I'm a guest. The show that Ian did in Washington this week was an interesting show. I can tell you what it was now because the show's let's see, no, it's still going on tomorrow. But the show was basically a national show, and it was a law enforcement event, and that's why we have to sign confidentiality agreements and non-disclosure agreements, and we cannot videotape or record during the show. And that's part of what our agreement is with them, obviously, when we get the show. And one of the reasons that we continue to get those type of shows is because, obviously, we have a good reputation. I will tell you about a show that we did, though, a few years ago in Orlando. We were doing a show, and it was a gang violence show. So a conference. So it was about gang violence. It was law enforcement agencies from all around the country having this conference about gang violence. In the middle of the conference, in the parking lot of the hotel, 2 gangs got into a shootout in the middle of the parking lot of the hotel. And there were 800 police officers at this conference that ran out into the street and, of course, apprehended the people. That was a very interesting situation. To see that take place live is really kind of a cool story, cool thing to see. And they all got caught. So, are you having a hard time finding employees at your business as qualified? So, yes. So that's a good question. I was having a real hard time in my construction business. We just hired a couple of people in the last couple of weeks. The audiovisual business, I'm very, very pleased that we were able to bring back everybody who worked for us before COVID. Even down in Miami, we had the people who worked, we had a lot of freelancers that worked for us, and they were all available. But again, during COVID, they were out of work too. They're all back. They're all working for us. Same thing in Washington, D.C., same thing in Texas. We got all of I don't think there's not one employee that didn't come back, or freelancer or subcontractor that didn't come back. Which worked out really, really well. So yeah, we haven't had a hard time with the employees for the audiovisual business. The ice cream business became a challenge this summer because though I was hiring 14 and 15-year-olds, all of a sudden the restaurants around the area that were having a hard time hiring people, they started hiring 14 and 15-year-olds. So I'm competing with the restaurants. So that's what happened there. But yeah, so the qualified employees, we just hired a property manager who's very qualified. So I haven't had a problem hiring employees. We put the ad out there, we interview them, and and we're doing okay. Can I compete with the big corporations that are offering sign-on bonuses and all this stuff? No, I can't. But I don't see any big construction companies doing that. It's mostly the chain businesses that are offering those type of bonuses. So yeah, we've been okay. I still have openings for carpenters, but we're doing okay. Yeah, they did pick the wrong place for the shootout. That was crazy that happened. That was just unbelievable. Just what a coincidence that was when that happened. Oh, there it is. I lost my questions for a sec. I bumped the screen. We do hire subcontractors. We hire subcontractors. So when I have big renovation projects for the construction business, my real estate, I hire subcontractors for that. And for the audiovisual, we hire subcontractors. We always send one of our own staff, at least one of our own staff, but then we'll hire subcontractors. Or in a case like next week, we're going to be in Manhattan in New York City. We're going to be doing the International Produce Show. It's a very big show. We do it every year. And guess what it's about? That's right, produce, fruits and vegetables. And we do it every single year. It's at the same place every year, the Javits Center and the Hilton Midtown Manhattan. And we've done it for years. And I'll actually go down there for a day. Again, it's a 4-day conference. I'll go down for one day. I will probably drive to that one. It's only a 2.5-hour ride, so I'll drive to that one. So 50% of construction workers are ex-convicts. I don't know if that's the case. And if they are, as long as they've paid their dues, done their time, and they're, living on the right side of the law, then, I would have no problem, hiring them as long as they're, doing the right thing. But I didn't know that. I will tell you that construction workers in general, they always try to have, I shouldn't say they always, but in very most cases, they'll start their own business. But you have to be disciplined. You have to be disciplined that you're going to go to work every day, Monday through Friday, 7 to 4, 7 to 5, whatever it may be. And that's where I think a lot of, plumbers, electricians, construction workers, carpenters fall short, painters, because they don't have that discipline. And you have to have somebody telling you what to do. And so that's why they're very good at their trade, very good, excellent at their skills in the trade. I have excellent people myself that, tried their own business, started their own business, and just couldn't build it enough to where they were supporting themselves. So I always try to hire experienced guys, obviously, but they weren't ex-cons. I mean, they just, they were guys that tried it on their own. But I would hire ex-cons, and I actually, over the years have. I don't have a problem with that. I give them an opportunity. It's there. I always tell them when I hire them, too, this is your opportunity to lose. I'm giving you the opportunity. If you don't show up, you lose it. You lose it. There is a lot of remodeling and construction. So for me, I purposely buy properties that need remodeling and reconstruction because I have the crew and I can get a better deal buying it. So there is a lot of remodeling and reconstruction. I have to mix up a little bit. Sometimes I'll get top heavy in remodeled places and they sit for a while till I get my crew over there. That's why I have openings for, carpenters. So I don't know if the best construction workers are from jail. What I will tell you is, in general, I find a lot of workers in general that serve time or are out of jail, out of probation, they want to prove to society that they are, giving back to society now. They've done their time. They paid their dues. And I find most of them are excellent workers because they have something to prove. They want to show you, hey, I want to show you that I'm doing the right thing now. So, yeah, I believe that in general, some of the best workers are just workers that were at some point incarcerated for whatever reason it may be. They're just trying to, do their best. I mean, I do have a full-time painter who spent half of his adult life in jail. Nothing violent. It was just selling drugs, which is bad. Okay, but he paid his dues. He did his time, and he's a great painter, and he's a good guy. He's been working for me for years, and I like him. He's a nice guy. And if you met him now and talked about, you'd never even know that he was in gangs and all this stuff. You just would never know, unless somebody told you. But yeah, no, convicted felons, I believe, work hard. So you know what? They never told us what the noise on that plane was. That pisses me off because I wanted to know what the noise. I thought it might have been the conveyor belt where they put the luggage in or something, because I know when they were trying to close the luggage hatch and it wasn't closing unless the hatch is hydraulically, driven. But they never told us that went on for over an hour. That noise went on we had to listen to that for over an hour. We're like, why didn't they just take us off the plane? But they never do that. Finally, all of a sudden, the noise stopped. They go, okay, we're ready to go. After an hour and a half, after I missed my connecting flight this morning. And then they rebooked me on a flight this afternoon, which that flight got delayed because there was too much fuel on the plane. I mean, I had some crazy stuff. Southwest never even told me why my flight got canceled last night. Now, I called them up. So Southwest, I got all my points back. I use points for Southwest. So I got all my points back, my money back. And I did call them up anyway to tell them I was inconvenienced. I wasn't happy about it. And they are sending me a $200 voucher. So Southwest is usually excellent about giving me a voucher after the fact. Even though they screwed me by canceling all my flights, they do try to make it up to you. They really do, without a huge hassle, without a big fight. That's why I like Southwest, because they are so flexible and convenient. Of course, they're not flexible and convenient when they cancel a flight. And by the way, I let them know that. So what they did is they sent me a survey today. Hey, how was your flight to Washington? So I'm like, why don't you ask me about my flight home from Miami? See, what they do is they send you a survey based on the flight you took. But if the flight was canceled, they don't send you a survey. Well, send me a survey on that one. I'll be glad to answer it. So I tell them how it is, because that was a bunch of bullshit. And they never said what was wrong, why it got canceled. They said it was just all they said when I called them tonight, they said it was a Southwest-related cancellation. That's all they said. Now, back when I was in Chicago and the flight got canceled, they were using the excuse that it was weather. But if you remember right, none of the other airlines had weather cancellations that weekend, just Southwest. I don't know what it was. Again, there was a lot of speculation as to what it was. I don't care. I just know it got canceled. But it gave my family 15 hours to drive home together. So, we had some family time. So anyway, how did you get your start in real estate? So I got my start in real estate just by the audiovisual business, though I like it, is very stressful. I've talked about this before, and I showed it this week with the big screens and projectors. You have a president of a company speaking up on the stage, or maybe a dignitary, a politician speaking, and the microphone goes out. That's stressful. So I knew, or I felt back then, 20 years ago, that I was not going to be long for that business because it was just so stressful for me. So I said, I've got to start doing something else. So that's when I started the real estate. I bought that first property that came with the ice cream shop. So when I got into the real estate business, I also got into the ice cream business at the same time because that ice cream shop came with the first building that I bought. So that's how I got into the real estate business in renting, rentals, property rentals. I got into flips just because I realized I had all these maintenance people working for me. And when the buildings are maintained, I didn't have much work for them. So let me buy a flip house. I can have them, renovate flip houses in between. So that's what I did. So that's how I got into the business that way. Let's see, did I answer all the questions? So today, a couple of people commented, American Express, I went into that Centurion Lounge. I mean, I'm serious. I've had a platinum card for years, and I've heard the rumor about these lounges around the world. I had to take a shuttle from, if anybody knows the Philadelphia airport, it's huge. I had to go from Concourse A to Concourse F. Well, you have to take a shuttle bus. That's how big the airport is. So I got on the shuttle bus to go from A to F. I was like, this stinks. I don't have to sit in this thing for 4 hours, So I said, you know what? I think that might be one of those Centurion lounges. So I Googled it, and sure enough, it happened to be at A, so I had to take the shuttle bus back to A, but that's all right. It was 15 minutes. Got back to A and went to that Centurion lounge. But I got to tell you, I was pretty impressed. I always thought it was just a lounge where you sat around and they might have some hors d'oeuvres, but it was a full breakfast. Then they had a full lunch. They had a full open bar and all the drinks you can have and coffee and everything else. So I was pretty impressed. The platinum card. The other thing I get with the platinum card is every month I get $15 towards an Uber ride. So where I travel a lot, I end up using that every month. The $15. You had a sewer pipe break 3 times in 3 months. Funny, we put a lock on the basement and solved the problem. So yeah, so we've had tenants who want to get out of their leases, and of course, they use the excuse that something broke and we're not fixing it. And yes, we've had that where they'll go down in the basement, they'll break the hot water heater, and we go fix it, they'll break it again. Then they'll call the building inspector and say, oh, the hot water heater's broken, they won't fix it. And they try to use that as an excuse to get out of the rent or to move out. But it doesn't work because you still have to go by, in Rhode Island, we still go by the landlord tenant handbook, and they have to give us notice that something's broken. They have to give us an opportunity to fix it. So they don't get away with that crap. But that stinks that your sewer broke, pipe broke. But, the problem that we have is that we can't, in Rhode Island, we're not allowed to lock basements because the tenants have to have access to the water meter, the electric meters, the gas meters, electric service, if it's down in the basement, heating systems. So that's the problem. Well, thank you for loving my content. So that's what happened there. $12,000 update. Well, so I told everybody last week, that Huntsinger there, the model from Rhode Island, she told us we issued the money once, we're not issuing it again. Well, I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing. They issued it to the thief who stole the money, and I signed a contract with Rent Relief where I was going to get the money. So whether they issued it once or not, they didn't give it to me per the contract. And it's unfortunate that, my lawyer said we're going to have to sue them. But what I did is I wrote a letter to the board. I give them the benefit of the doubt. Actually, they have to the end of this week to get back to me. And if they don't, then we are going to have to sue them for the $12,000. They signed a contract that they were going to give me not some thief, $12,000. They should be ashamed of themselves. That just shows you these people that get these jobs that think they're untouchable. She thinks she's untouchable. She can go home on a Friday with her paycheck and think, I did a good job this week. I don't think so. So that aggravates me. Let's see. What else is there? It's interesting today. The person that told me I talk too much, I learned, somebody asked me, how did I learn TikTok? Well, the very first thing I learned on TikTok is how to scroll. So if I talk too much, scroll. I didn't ask him to come and listen to me talk too much and ramble on. Okay. I know sometimes I do, but I try to explain things and I over-explain things sometimes, The most profitable business as far as profit goes would be the audiovisual business is the most profitable. Now, the reason being is because the real estate business, I don't take any money out of it. I put it back in. I keep buying more real estate, investing it back in, renovating what I have. Eventually, I will stop because I did it so it would be my retirement. So eventually, I'm going to stop so that way I can retire. But as far as the profit goes, the audiovisual business is the most profitable, which is very interesting because we are competitive with many other companies out there, and in fact, the hotels. So here's something that's interesting. Most hotels partner with an audiovisual company, a local company, or there's a couple of national companies out there that will partner with the hotel. And the way they do it is whatever is charged for the conference, they split with the hotel. It's usually 50-50. That's the industry standard. So say the conference is $100,000. They'll charge the customer $100,000. In fact, if there are meeting planners on here, or people that are planning meetings, corporate meeting planners, this is very, very good information. So, and this is why the business is profitable. So what happens is the hotel and the partner AV company will charge, say, $100,000 for a conference. Well, what happens is they split it 50-50. So the AV company's getting 50, the hotel's getting 50 commission, which a lot of the customers don't realize the hotel's double dipping. You're having your conference at the hotel, you're paying them to rent the room, you're paying them for the food, you're paying them for the sleeping rooms, and now they're also charging you half for the audiovisual. So that's when we come into play. We are not in the hotel, we're outside of the hotel. We don't have to pay a commission to the hotel. So even if we charged 50%, half of the 50,000, half of the 100, we are still making the same profit as the audiovisual company. But we travel, so we build that into our price. That might make us a little higher, as a little higher than the 50% mark, but we're definitely a lot less than the hotel's price. So that's how we're competitive, and that's how we get a lot of jobs. Also, what happens is the clients like us, they'll just hire us over and over and over again, and we travel with them. Now, I was talking about that the other day. So I was in Miami for the InterSem conference. There is a conference for everything. You name it, there's a conference for it. So InterSem was the International Cement Conference. Yes, it was a conference on cement, but we've done conferences on oil, on gas, electricity, batteries, medical conferences on everything, okay? And when I tell you everything, a hangnail conference. We have one client who's one of our best clients, is the International Pet Dermatology Association. So think about that, Pet Dermatology Association, okay? So what do they do? And we do their conferences. Now, I'll talk about them for a minute. So I talked about the fact that most conferences are at touristy locations, high-end hotels, anywhere that's a real, a beautiful place to go. Miami this time of year is a great place to go. So why do they have conferences there? Because they want to attract as many registries to go to the conference. So that's why they'll have it in Las Vegas. They'll have it in really nice areas, Houston, Dallas, so San Antonio. So that's what they'll do. They'll pick a really nice place, Chicago, nice place that people haven't been to, and that's where they have the conference. Most conference organizations that we do business with go to a different place every year. They'll go to the West Coast one year, the East Coast one year, back to the West Coast. They go back and forth, and a different location. So it might be Boston, one year Providence, New York, one year. So that's how they'll do it. They'll work their way down the East Coast. Same thing on the West Coast. The West Coast is, you got California, you got Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Diego. So that's what they do. They bounce back and forth. So real estate and flipping houses can be very stressful, especially the slobs that left it. So the the first thing that we do, so it's funny because I do take a lot of video, as you know, when we go into a house when we first get it. And the house looks terrible. It looks awful the way they leave it. They're slobs. They are slobs. They're disgusting. So the very first thing we do is we send a clean out crew in there. We clean the house out spotless. Everything, just clean it out spotless. Then I go back in there and take more video because now I want to see what I want to do with it. And it's completely night and day. Even when you clean it out, the house is almost, okay, let's clean it up, let's paint it and sell it. You could do that if you wanted to. So the only time it's stressful is when people break into the house, they steal all the copper pipes, they steal all the plumbing. Now you have to open up the walls, you have to put new heating systems in. That's where it's a little bit stressful. And also, where I buy houses at the auction, sight unseen, I don't know what's inside the house. Like I said before, some guys that go to the auction, they don't want people living in the house. They want to buy the house vacant. I rather buy it with people in it because I know that if they're living in it, it's habitable. So they don't have broken pipes. They don't have broken heating systems. So everyone has a different, philosophy when they're buying the houses. Do you think it takes much to pick a rental property? No. I mean, the big thing about a rental property is you want to do the numbers. If you see something for sale, when I say do the numbers, I say that kind of generically. What I do is I see how much they're asking. I figure out what my mortgage will be. I figure out how much rent is coming in now. So very often these unscrupulous real estate agents who I have a real hard time with real estate agents, if you haven't noticed, what they'll do is they'll list a property for sale. And what they'll do is, here's the potential rents. Yeah, after you spend $150,000 fixing up, after you get rid of the tenants that are in there, and after you raise the rents, here's what you might be able to make after you just lost $150,000, had 4 empty apartments for 4 months while you fix it up. So I don't buy my properties that way. I want to see what actual profit and loss is now, and that's how I buy my properties. There's one on the market right now. One on the market, I think today or yesterday. Andrew was telling me about it. It's 11 units, 1-bedroom units. Now, in the particular area that it is, to me, they're worth at the most $70,000 each. At the most. So that would be $770,000. They're asking $1.1 million, the greedy people. That's ridiculous. I don't see anybody making an offer on it. I'm not even going to call to look at it because doing the numbers, when I look at the numbers, they're 1-bedroom apartments, which to me, a 1-bedroom apartment, I don't really love 1-bedroom apartments. It's usually a single person or a couple just starting out. So you're going to lose that tenant at some point. It's not a long-term tenant. That's why I don't love 1-bedroom apartments. 2-bedroom apartments are perfect because it can be a single person and they have a home office. It can be a couple and they have a home office. It gives them more space. So I really like 2-bedroom apartments. But anyway, so that property today was ridiculous. So I'm not even going to go look at it. Oh, that's funny. You're going to Vegas for a concrete show in January. Well, I guess there's a lot of concrete shows. So that's what's interesting, too, because not only there's shows for everything, there's multiple shows for everything. I told the story on TikTok. I told the story on TikTok about the conference I did up in Ottawa, Canada, where I had to drive. None of my staff could get across the border for various reasons. So I had to drive the truck across the border. I went up to Ottawa, Canada. I got there at 10 o'clock at night. I had to pull an all-nighter. Actually, I got there at 2 in the morning. What I'm talking about, I had to pull an all-nighter, stay up all night long. So I actually produced the conference the next day, did the sound, the lighting, the video, and I was falling asleep all day long. I was sitting there and I was falling asleep. But the conference was the International Narcolepsy Conference, so it was about people who just fall asleep all night long. So I think they probably just thought I was a member. But that is a true story. That is a true story. So that's why there is a conference for everything. You wouldn't believe some of the conferences. And, some are very interesting, too. We find there's a lot of interesting. The produce show, who would think that produce is exciting? Well, I went to it 3 years ago. I attended it, and it was all about cauliflower. There's all the different things you can do with cauliflower. So I found that to be interesting. What kind of lender will lend that kind of money? Which kind of money? Oh, well, you talk about which kind of money? Buying the $1.1 million? Well, in that particular case, I don't think a lender would loan $1.1 million because it won't appraise. That property will not appraise for that. If it's 1-bedroom apartments and I value it at $70,000 apartment, $770,000, the appraiser, you're gonna be lucky if you get to appraise for the $770,000. And and a lender won't lend that money. And typically it would have to be a private money lender that would loan the money. So you have to put down 10 or 20% to get the rest of the money. And then you can refinance it with a regular bank. So I would say you always want to buy minimum of a duplex. Person's asking should I buy a single family duplex. In the property rental business, you really want to try to optimize it. Duplex, 3 family, 4 family, because now, your maintenance is easier because you're maintaining a group of apartments rather than just one. So we try to get at least now I buy, like I said, I bought a 9-unit last week. I'm closing on Friday. I'm closing on a 39-unit property, which is one of the biggest ones that I've purchased. And it's easy to maintain them. You know what I'm saying? But I had to start out with the singles and the 2s and the 3s and the 4s to build up to where I'm at. But yeah, so I would say try to get a duplex or a 3-family is usually about the same price retail, believe it or not, to buy. So I would say try to find a 3-family. So it's interesting. Yeah, so there are huge ice cream conferences every year. There are a few big ice cream conferences. We've tried to do audiovisual for them. I've never attended an ice cream conference because, what are they going to do? They're going to sell me new type of machine, new type of freezer. A lot of the ice cream conferences, if you make your own ice cream, then it's worth it to go to the conference because a lot of the ingredient manufacturers are at the conferences, so you can hook up with ingredient manufacturers. So I would say that makes sense to me. What foreclosure house single family? Yes, I have. So I bought a lot of foreclosure single family houses, and so even in 2020, I sold 21 single family houses. They were all foreclosures. We bought them all at the auction, public auction. We fixed them up, renovated them, and sold them. So yes, that's typically what I do. I buy the single families. I buy at the auction, fix them up, and I sell them. Lately, though, since COVID, A, there hasn't been a lot of auctions. Most of them get canceled. And B, because of the real estate market being so high right now, they're selling for ridiculous amounts of money at the auction, which I'm going to tell you a story about that. It's interesting. So if somebody loses their house to auction foreclosure, 5 years ago, if they owed $170,000, $180,000 on the house would sell for $140,000, $150,000. Obviously, they were upside down in the house, and they lost everything, and the bank may or may not go after them. What's happening now is these houses that are for foreclosure are selling for more than what's owed on them. So there might be a mortgage for $150,000. The house is selling for $300,000. So now you say, okay, what does the bank do with the extra $150,000 they get? Well, it goes back to the original owner. So the bank takes out all their fees, takes out everything they owed, and the difference goes back to the person they foreclosed on because it's their money. So I don't know if people realize that, but that's what happens in that case. Oh yeah, keeping up with the butlers. Yeah, that's true. It's funny because I would say I don't have a big butt, but some people might think I do have a big butt. Not that anybody has a big butt. I'm the Kardashians, but I'm just saying. But yeah, it's interesting because I like reality TV. I really do. I've never watched Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but I like, I lost interest, but I did watch Chris Lee Knows Best for a while. I found that to be interesting. Porn stars, in Las Vegas, I found that to be very interesting. I like that because the historic value of it. It's really cool how they linked history into the show. So I do like a lot of the reality shows. So, I guess I could be on a reality show or at least answer questions. I could be one of the guest people that come in and answer questions about real estate or something. But I don't think I have the face for TV or whatever, or the personality, who knows. So when I buy foreclosed houses, I buy some with people inside them, so it's interesting because sometimes it's the actual owner who lost it to foreclosure. So I've talked about this before. I feel bad for those people because every single foreclosure has a story. It could be husband got sick, wife got sick, child got sick, had to pay hospital bills instead of the mortgage. What's your priority? So there's always a story behind somebody losing their home. It's not, they went out and they smoked it and they drank it, they lost it at the casino. Yeah, those few and far between. It's really more of an illness or an emergency. Somebody lost their job and just couldn't get another job. So The reason I say that is because I have no problem telling everybody that. Even me, 10 years ago, after the banking crisis, when my audiovisual business took a huge hit because there was no conferences, my house went into foreclosure. And the house I'm in right now, I'm down in the basement in my studio, but this house here, I was able to renegotiate with the bank, get it out of foreclosure. My credit has been terrible up until 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I couldn't even borrow a dime. Could not even borrow a dollar from a bank 3 years ago at 50, well, how old was I? 54 years old. But I paid every dime back. I renegotiated with the bank. So everyone has a story. My story was I was self-employed. My business took a huge hit. I sold my car to make my mortgage payments. I did everything possible to keep the business going. Luckily enough, we were able to rebuild, doing some other things. Mike, who was running my audiovisual business for me at the time, and myself, we got creative because he used to own a car dealership, an auto dealership, before he worked for me. So he knew how to sell cars. So we figured out a niche of selling Jeeps with plow trucks. And that's how we got through those 2 lean years, paying ourselves. We made some money. I got caught up on my mortgage. So I got lucky. And even my rental properties, I was able to renegotiate with the banks because, again, I don't take any money out. It goes right back into the properties. So it's not like I had stacks of cash to keep myself going. So every single foreclosure has a story. I have some people now. The people that follow me probably think I'm repeating myself, but again, I try to new followers. I want to keep everybody up to speed. When I buy a house at a foreclosure at an auction and it's occupied, the first thing that Andrew and I do, Andrew's my nephew, who's my property manager, we drop a letter off introducing ourselves to them, letting them know we're not kicking them out of their house. We're sorry for the situation that they're in. We'd like to discuss what their plans are. Do they plan on trying to keep the house? Which most of the time is not an option, but we give them other options. Do they want to rent a place? Are they looking for another house? What is their goals in the future? So when we drop that letter off, we ask them, please give us a call. We'd like to just set up a meeting. And we do. And we sit down with them. We talk to them. That solves a couple of problems. A, they're not going to destroy the house because they see we're not jerks. We're not the bank. We're not kicking them out. Yeah, we bought it at the auction, but we're not kicking them out. So that's how I established my relationship with the occupant of the house, whether it's a tenant, whether it's the people that live there, the owners. And we've had excellent luck at that. I will not change the way I do that ever because I have compassion for those people. I feel bad for them. I have rented many houses, many of my apartments to people that I bought foreclosed houses at. They've moved into my apartments. Right now I have 2 people that rent, 2 roommates that rent a house from me. It's a 2-bedroom house. Their house was foreclosed on. I bought it at auction 5 years ago. They've been renting from me for 5 years. I don't do credit checks because obviously if they lost their house due to foreclosure, they have bad credit for whatever reason, just like I did. So I never do credit checks. I do employment checks. And if they are renting, I will do a landlord check. But anyway, they're still renting from me. They're great, great tenants. So I have found that system works for us. That system of introducing ourselves to the people that live in the occupied house works for me the best. So that's the story with that. So I feel bad for people that go through foreclosure. There's a reason for everything. And until I know that reason, now, here's one. I have some properties that I bought just before COVID 2 years ago. It's 4 houses on 1 lot in Johnston, Rhode Island. I've talked about it on TikTok. I've done a couple of TikToks about it. In this particular case, I don't feel bad for the occupants, and I will tell you why. When I tell the story, hopefully you won't feel bad for them either. So what it is it's 4 houses on 1 lot. And the person who owned the property was 96 when he died, and he died 3 years ago. He died 5 years ago because it's been 2 years since I bought it. He died 5 years ago. His 2 sons and daughter lived in the property. So he lived in one house. His son lived in one house. The other son lived in the house, and the daughter lived in the other house. Now, when we think of sons and daughters, we're thinking young kids. He was 96. So think about how old his sons and his daughter were. Daughter 75, sons in their 60s. Now, the reason why I don't feel bad for them is because the father's mortgage was $250 a month for the whole property, 4 houses on 1 lot. And the kids did not pay a dime for 3 years. Not one dime. Didn't make an effort to pay a dime. And it went to foreclosure. When it went to foreclosure, I won it at the foreclosure auction. I went and introduced myself to them just like I normally do. And I said, look, I just bought it. The property's a mess. It's in disarray. It needs a new pump. It needs a new septic system. It had well water, so it needed a well pump. Septic system, your cesspools are overflowing. The houses need new roofs. If you want, let's come up with a monthly fee that you can pay so I can maintain the property till I own it. Then COVID hit. Of course, they all refused to pay a dime because they didn't pay the $250. $60 each is all they had to pay a month, and they would be living in a property paid off. Anyway, so that's why I don't feel bad for them. So meanwhile, COVID hit. When COVID hit, the bank took forever to close on the property. I still haven't closed on it, but it looks like by the end of this month I may be closing on it finally. But they refused to pay a dime to maintain it. The property's falling apart. So when I own the property, all 4 of them are just getting eviction notice. Go. I'm all done with you. Well, 3 of them. The back house is empty where the father lived. And I was going to evict them. And I don't feel bad for them. That story there doesn't have a happy ending for them because they made no effort whatsoever to help themselves. So I don't feel bad for them at all. Is Rhode Island business friendly? I got to tell you something. That is such a loaded question. Rhode Island itself wasn't business friendly, in my opinion. And I know I'm going to get a lot of pushback on this one. Till probably about 7 years ago. Now, what's odd about this is this. So Rhode Island has a Democratic legislature, always has since I'm a little kid, always been Democrats that run the House and Senate, the Rhode Island House and Senate. The reason why I say that is because normally, to keep a balance of power, Rhode Islanders choose a Republican governor. So we had a string of Republican governors for many, many years. So you would think they're business friendly. Well, in Rhode Island, they have this thing called the minimum corporate tax for businesses. It's $500 a year. Well, it used to be $500 a year. And, the governors, Republican governors, they had the opportunity to lower that tax and help businesses. They never chose to. We had a Democratic governor who I did not vote for, Gina Raimondo, who is now the Commerce Secretary for Biden's administration. And she was our governor until he chose her to be Commerce Secretary. I'm not saying anything about his administration, positive or negative. What I'm talking about is Gina Raimondo. When she was the governor of the state of Rhode Island, she made a lot of enemies in the state, and I didn't vote for her. I absolutely did not vote for her for governor. But she turned around and made the state business friendly. I was shocked. She lowered that minimum tax. She made it a lot easier to deal with the division of taxation. She's done a lot of things for the infrastructure. She did a lot of things for the infrastructure. And then, of course, that's probably one of the reasons why she was chosen to go to Washington. So Rhode Island is now a little bit more business friendly as a state. Now, there are pockets of Rhode Island that are not business friendly. There are certain cities that I feel are absolutely not business friendly. And I'm not going to mention any. Warwick, and where I own most of my property and pay the highest taxes, Warwick, is not business friendly. But Cranston is, Johnston is very welcoming. Those happen to be East Greenwich, West Warwick. These are towns that I do business in, own property in Narragansett, Smithfield, all business friendly. But at the one where I own my most property, my businesses, my offices there with my 4 businesses, Warwick is not business friendly. Hopefully they will change, but they are not business friendly now. Now, I'll give you an example why. Why, Jeff, is it not business friendly? Well, so I grew up in Warwick, went to high school in Warwick, graduated from Warwick Vets High School. I started my business in Warwick, my audiovisual business. My office has always been in Warwick. I used to live in Warwick in 2004 when I got married and moved to Cranston. Every time I start a business, my office is in Warwick. So where's the business? It's in Warwick for the most part. So I started Butler Waste Disposal 2 years ago. And Warwick, you file a tax return in the city of Warwick for tangible tax. I pay my taxes. And then 2 months ago, I get a letter from the building inspector, who and I don't get along with anyway, who shouldn't be the building inspector. He sends me a letter violating me, saying that I'm running an illegal waste business in the building that I'm in. Well, first of all, A, it's an industrial business. It's not illegal. B, the city's already taxed me twice on it. So, yeah, I think you're a little late coming to the game, Mr. Building Inspector. When the city's already approved it, they charge me taxes on it. At the same time, being business friendly, wouldn't Warwick have called me up? Hey, Jeff, thanks for starting a new business in the city. We appreciate it. We appreciate your taxes. No, we're going to have the building inspector send you a nasty certified letter that you're running an illegal business. Fine. So I just bought a piece of property in Johnston, Rhode Island, and guess what? That business is moving to Johnston, and that business pays the highest amount of property taxes out of all my businesses. So Warwick mayor and economic development joke you can thank your building inspector for that one. And I have a lot more to come with that one goes. So in general, Rhode Island is business friendly. There are certain pockets of Rhode Island that are not. And there's one right there where folks stab themselves in the foot. Now, sure, will somebody else take over that property and pay taxes? Yes. But here's the difference. Tangible taxes are based on your inventory. I own a certain amount of dollars worth of dumpsters. That pays a lot of taxes. And who knows who's going in that building right now. That building could turn into an art studio and not have any inventory in there. Okay, just have a bunch of pictures or something. So short-sighted people, they hire short-sighted people. So that's the story with that. The Foxy Lady is business friendly. I used to work at the Foxy Lady, and it is business friendly. I agree with that. And of course, they invite people from other businesses. So, are there any tenants out there that have any questions? I always like to answer tenants' questions because I am an advocate for tenants. Even though I'm a landlord, I'm a very big advocate for tenants. I believe in having a great relationship with the tenants. I believe that the tenants get shortchanged sometimes, and the landlords get shortchanged. Because landlords have such a bad reputation, we actually have tenants that come in with a little chip on their shoulder. For instance, I'll give you an example. We had a tenant just a couple weeks ago had a problem in their apartment. Well, instead of calling us, the landlord's office, with a full staff, they called the building inspector and complained to the building inspector they had a leak in their faucet and that it was creating a mildew situation underneath the sink. So the building inspector knows us, we maintain our property, so they call up the minimum housing person, called up Andrew, what's going on? So we said, we'll send somebody over there. The problem with that is this. The tenant brought unwarranted attention to our property without just calling us up. So that's why it becomes an adversarial relationship at that point. You hate it to be that way. I'm looking to have long-term tenants, not to have a tenant that when his lease is up, I'm going to ask him to leave. So I believe, though, that comes from bad landlords not helping the tenant. So I'm not blaming the tenant as much as I blame bad landlords for creating this situation over the years. And that's why I try to communicate with the tenants and tell them that. So I don't get a difference of quality. Well, the question is quality tenants in a duplex versus a single family. I'm going to be honest with you. I think the quality of tenants in a duplex is better than a single family. Now, here's my mentality on that. Because you have to be good neighbors. You're sharing a common wall or upstairs, downstairs. You have to be good neighbors. The tenants have to be a certain level of quality, and behaved and not be loud. So, quiet enjoyment is the legal term. Single family house. I have a single family house that I purchased. I bought these 5 buildings on one lot, and they're all 5. There's 5 units in each building, except there was a single family house. That single family house, the lady that lived there decided to have a kennel. She has all kinds of dogs. She has cats. She has a zoo over there, besides her and her kids. And I, they're already in the house. They're paying rent. I know that when she moves out or I evict her, whatever comes first, I'm going to have to completely go through that house and gut that house and clean up. So that's why I'm leaving it alone. I'm letting her stay there. But eventually, when I have nothing to do, my guys have nothing to do, that house will be empty. So that's the problem with that. Single-family house people sometimes, some renters, sometimes can take advantage. But it all depends. I have another single-family house that's in a very affluent area where, the rent is $4,000 a month. So you're going to get only doctors, lawyers, wealthy people rent that particular house. So they're not going to destroy the house because they want to keep the house beautiful. So let's see. So that's the story with that. So I think that, the quality of tenants, as I get bigger buildings, 4 and 5 units, I can be a little tougher on the tenants. Hey, you're making noise. Quiet down. The doors are slamming in all time. Time of the night, the doors are slamming in and out. What's going on? At the same time, the other tenants tell us what's going on. So if a tenant's selling drugs or a tenant's doing something else, prostitution, whatever they might be doing, they'll let us know. If they're having big parties, they'll let us know. So that's why, for me, a multi-unit kind of takes care of itself more so than a single unit. We did have a problem a couple of years ago where we were renting single-family homes. So out of sight, out of mind. If I rent a house and nobody ever calls me and they just send the rent check in every month, I'm fine with that, as long as they abide by the lease and the law. Well, we had a couple of houses where the people actually turned the houses into complete illegal marijuana grow facilities, and that was a problem. It was a problem for us because obviously it gets raided. It puts a black eye on us. It gives us a black eye, and that's not what we want, because now they made a mess of the house. We have to go in. We have to fix the house up, clean it all up. So that's why single family houses we have to keep more of an eye on than I ever realized before. So we were kind of caught with our pants down with that one, but we corrected the situation and we don't do it anymore. Let's see, what else is there? Have I ever evicted someone with foreclosure? Yes, I have, obviously, but I've evicted. So I won't say evicted anybody with a foreclosure family. What happens is we've always been able to get them to move out within reason. I've never actually had to go through the foreclosure process. I've never had to go through the eviction process with anybody whose house got foreclosed on, and I'm really proud of that. With probably over 100 houses that we've purchased at foreclosure, Andrew and I just have a great way of working with the tenants. We'll give them time to get out. If they agree to pay some rent, we'll give them a certain amount of time to get out. Because we have so many properties we're working on, we can't get to that property right away anyway. So why force the people out on the street? So we work with them. We really do. Do I like Big Brother? I used to watch Big Brother a lot. I haven't watched it in the last few years, but I used to, when it first came on. Oh, yeah, I liked Big Brother a lot. It was really cool. You had a foreclosure, a mortgage investor bought the house 5 years ago. So yeah. So what happens is, and then they invested, they bought it, probably fixed it up if it needed to be fixed up, and sold it. I help people when people go through foreclosure. I give them advice on how to deal with the bank. Here's the problem: is if it's inevitable they're going to lose the house, the goal would be get out of it with the least loss possible, so you can get some of that money back. Like I was talking about, right now, people are actually getting money back at their foreclosure. So, good example is you go to the bank, and the banks will do this anyway. They'll either do the short sale, or you can negotiate with the bank saying, look, if I sign the house over to you right now, will you waive all the fees, waive everything, stop the bleeding, and mark my credit, settled. And most banks will do that because they want to just turn around, sell the house, and get their money back. So yeah, there is a way of working with the bank during foreclosure. The problem is, and I understand this because it was the same thing with me. Your first love is your house. You want to save your house. For the most part, people want to save their house. But realistically, if it's too far gone and you can't save it, the goal at that point should be to negotiate to get out without owing anything. And there's so many opportunities to do that, but most people don't do that. They wait for the foreclosure. They wait for the sheriff to come in and tell them to get out, which is too bad because now they're not going to walk away with anything. So there is an opportunity there to walk away. If the bank buys the house. So what happens is when we go to an auction, if I go to a foreclosure auction, when I go to foreclosure office, I would say it's interesting. Right now, about 30% of the time, the bank does buy the house back. Now, the reason the bank buys the house back is because none of the people at the auction offered enough for the house. Here's a good example. I went to an auction one day. It was a one-bedroom bungalow worth about $220,000 at the most. But back in 2007 and 2008, when the banks were just giving out second and third mortgages, crazy money. So we went to this auction, 220, 230, 240, 250. So we stopped bidding at 220. Well, you know what? The bank was owed $380,000 on it. So now the bank buys it back for the 380. No, it doesn't mean they're going to get the 380 for it. What they'll do is they'll buy it back. They have the house. Now they can now sell the house for whatever, because they own it. Sell it for whatever number they want and take a loss, a tax write-off, a loss on the difference. So that's what they'll do there. But yeah, there was $380,000 owed on a house that was worth $220 at the most. What are you going to do? So that happens a lot. A lot of times you go to the auction and the investors will be standing there. The auctioneer may open up the bid at the minimum bid. So say, we're all standing. I'll say, okay, that, to me it's worth $150. Andrew might say $140. Somebody else, Robbie, might say $180. The bank will say, okay, opening bid $350. And all we all do is just walk around and go to our cars. There's nothing you can do at that point because the bank's not going to lower it then. They'll buy it back. They'll do all the paperwork. So now they actually own the house. And then they can sell it. They can sell it for $1 if they want. But typically what they'll do is they'll appraise it and they'll sell it. They'll put it on the open market and have a real estate agent sell it for whatever market will pay. That's how they do that. Let's see what else is there. I think I answered all the questions, right? I feel bad if I skipped one. But yeah, so the noise on the plane, never found that out. I'm very upset. Southwest gave me $100. American Airlines, I tried calling them. They're not as easy. So American Airlines. So this morning's flight was delayed an hour and a half because of the noise on the plane. Then this afternoon's flight was delayed an hour and 10 minutes because they had to take fuel off the plane. I never heard of that before. But anyway, so I called American Airlines to say, hey, what are you going to do for me? You screwed me today. And they said I had to call my travel agent, which was Travelocity. I bought it through Travelocity. So I called Travelocity. Actually, I was on the phone with them for a half hour before my live tonight. And they told me, nope, nothing we can do. The money went to American Airlines. You have to talk to them. So I'm getting the runaround there, which is too bad, which is really, really too bad. It's unfortunate that I'm getting the runaround. But it is what it is. I guess that's part of the traveling. That's part of the business, part of my doing what I do, Your trash company is not picked up in 2 weeks. Calls and emails to the landlord are not being answered. It's not me, is it? So that's interesting. So have you tried calling, not that it's your responsibility, but have you tried calling your trash company? If your landlord's not responding, there's an example of calling the minimum housing inspector in your town and say, look, my landlord's not returning my calls. The trash is overflowing on the property. They'll contact the landlord. That's an example of calling the landlord because you're calling the landlord. In our case, we have 24-hour phone calls. We have 24-hour on-call people. But there are small-time landlords. But you know what? Don't hide from the tenants, landlords. Talk to your tenants. See, that's what causes a bigger problem. If you hide from, look what just happened. I'm telling a tenant, call the building inspector. Why? Because you're hiding from your tenant. So that aggravates me. That's a bad landlord. No reason for that. But yeah, I would call and complain. At the same time, obviously, you can send a letter to your landlord. I don't know what state you're in, but you can look up the law. Send a letter to your landlord, let them know they have 20 days to empty the trash, and if they don't, you're going to pay to have it removed and take it out of the rent. In Rhode Island, they can do that, but you have to give the landlord written notice. Oh, you don't know what trash company is? Yeah, so what I would do is then, like I just said, I would just send a written email, text, or something in writing to the landlord saying, nobody has picked up your trash in 2 weeks. It's becoming a health hazard. It's attracting rodents. And I need it moved within 20 days, or I'm going to, move it myself and withdraw it from the rent. Whatever your law is in Rhode Island, that's what it is. It's 20 days in Rhode Island. So I don't know what it is in your state. But it just stinks that a landlord puts you in that position because now when you do that, they're going to say, oh, well, you're being difficult. Well, you're not being difficult. You want your trash picked up. So that's where it becomes a difficult relationship with the landlords being a bad landlord. And I cannot stand bad landlords because they set me up. So that's why I like working with, and answering tenants' questions because, again, very often the tenants are only in the position because they're non-trusting of landlords who caused them to non-trust the landlord. Yeah, well, and maybe they are. Maybe, who knows if somebody's sick, and that's why they can't get to the maintenance. Who knows? But, they should at least get back to you and say, that's what you can even tell them the neighbor's knocking on your door and telling you get rid of the garbage, let the landlord know. Look, then you know why somebody calls the building inspector. He doesn't know if it's the neighbors or you. So that's one way you can get around it too. See, I will help tenants because if tenants are doing the right thing, I will help tenants. Absolutely, because I appreciate tenants. They're customers. Tenants are customers. They're paying me money. Think about it. A year, they're very good customers. Code enforcement got involved. Good. They should. It's probably Butler Waste. I don't think so makes money 22379. I don't think it's Butler Waste. Though Butler Waste is guilty of a lot of things. It's not them this time. That's for sure. Oh, boy. But yeah, so... Anyway, so Butler Waste, yeah, that's an interesting business. I don't talk much about Butler Waste, Anyway, I'm trying to see. Hey, how you doing, Tim? Ha ha ha. So, any other questions? I'm trying to think if I was going to talk about anything else tonight. I talked about this, the crazy trip. You folks saw what the audiovisual business is all about, what we do. Ian and Rick do a great job on the shows. You do not live in Rhode Island, laugh out loud. It's not Butler Ways. Oh, good. Whew. I was worried about that one for a minute. I was worried about that one. Oh, boy. But my favorite Nicolas Cage movie, Face Off. Next. And I don't know why. I shouldn't say that because Con Air was excellent. Con Air was actually an excellent movie. And, it's on like every Saturday, And I really enjoyed Con Air. But Face Off was a good movie too. So those are my two Nicolas Cage movies. So let's see. What's your favorite Nicolas Cage movie since you're asking? Good choice. Gone. Oh yes, very good movie. You're right. Gone in 60 Seconds is a very good movie. And that's interesting too, because that's an older movie too. So it's right around the same time frame as the ones I was talking about. So he wasn't in Christmas Vacation. Nicolas Cage. I do like Christmas Vacation, but Nicolas Cage was not in Christmas Vacation. Talking about movies, it's funny because today, being on the plane and the shuttle and everything and cars, I was thinking Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. That's one of my favorite movies. I don't know if anybody has seen that one with John Candy and Steve Martin. That's one of my favorite movies of all time, where he's trying to get home for the holidays for Thanksgiving. And, it was a good movie. It was just a really good, family movie type of thing. In fact, we try to watch it every Thanksgiving. I force the kids to watch every Thanksgiving because I want to show them that it's important to get home for the holidays and be home with your family. And it's not always about being with friends and ignoring, tonight. So my kids are 15 and 12. So I come in tonight, right? I came home 5 o'clock. I walk in the house. I yell, Benjamin, Emily, I'm home. Nothing. Not one thing. Then Carissa brought home some sushi, takeout sushi for dinner because she had to work late tonight, and I was going on here. And, they come downstairs for dinner. So, you know what? They don't know who I am when I come home. So it was funny because why did your wife call you cheap? So she didn't call me cheap, but that was a dad joke. So I tell everyone, if you tell me a dad joke on TikTok, I will repeat it. So that was a dad joke that, actually, you know what? She has called me cheap, but I don't buy it. But no, so she has called me cheap before, but that was a dad joke that I said I'd repeat, and I repeated it on TikTok, and so it was kind of a funny joke, I thought. So that's why I told it, the dad joke. I'm sure she's told me I'm cheap over, at some point. It wasn't a booger. Listen, I don't want to get up there, but I got a nose skin tag up there, and it was the way that first of all, I had my mask on, which was squeezing my face. Listen, I didn't look my best. You know what I'm saying? I didn't look my best. Yeah, it was a nose ring. It was my nose ring. That's exactly right. Thank you. It was my nose ring. So. But, I didn't look my best on the plane. I got my headphones on. I got the mask on, which you have to wear on the plane. So I bring it down, and it's pulling my ears out. And, I look terrible. I look worse than I look now. So let's see, what time is it? All right, I got 14 minutes. So I have to go in 14 minutes. But I wanted to answer the live because people asking about the planes, flights. Nobody, I guess, asked much about the shows, but I kind of explained the shows and with the conferences and how that works, January. It's nice with the conferences. I'm really happy about the conferences because December and January are usually slow months of the year. We're really busy this December. Next week we have the other one in New York. But then we have 3 more that we booked in January shows. So that's kind of nice. I'm happy about that. I'm happy about the fact that we have more work coming up. So anyway, let's see. Hi from Iowa. How you doing? One of my good friends, that very close friend of mine, is from Iowa. Grew up in Iowa. Chris, his name's Chris, and he grew up in Iowa, and he lives here in Rhode Island now. Good friend of mine. So let's see. And then let's see, I got a lot of people that join. You know what's amazing? Because I don't want to. I feel almost like when you flip through, especially in the morning. For some reason, 6 in the morning, there seems to be a lot of lives on TikTok, and you flip through, it's just a bunch of girls just sitting there looking at the camera. They're showing more skin than I am, but they're just sitting there staring at the camera. It was not a boogie. I'm telling you that right now. I'm telling you. But if you want to say it was, that's fine. I might have to do a funny TikTok about that now. Anyway, so this is my new podcast microphone. I think I told everybody last week, I built this studio, and I'm going to be doing podcasts. So I bought 2 of these microphones because I'm going to be having guests and people on with me, and I'm going to be doing a regular live thing every day where I can have video guests on. So I bought this podcast microphone. Hi from Pennsylvania. How you doing? I was in Philadelphia today at the Philadelphia airport. That's where I was stuck for 4 hours. Let's see. So yeah, I was at the airport today before I came home, Philadelphia. So, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. Like I said, I went to that lounge and sat in that lounge. That was kind of cool. It was still shitty. The whole day was shitty between getting up at 4 in the morning and, I slept a little bit on the plane. The second plane ride from Philadelphia here was only 40 minutes. It was short. It's 40 minutes. So, oh, there you go. You're 45 minutes from the airport. So my wife went to school at Villanova, so I'm quite familiar with the Philadelphia area because I spent a lot of time there. So she was at Villanova, and we spent a lot of time there. And let's see what else is there. That's pretty much it. So if anybody has questions, I always tell you, send me the questions on some of my TikToks. I think you can tell. I read the comments. Whenever I have downtime, I like to read the comments. And I like to go. In fact, I want to say, I thought there was something I wanted to talk about tonight. Well, I talked about the landlord thing. I talked about the tenant thing because people brought that up, so I wanted to talk about that. So I think it's important when people bring something up, I want to mention it. So, did you see the TikTok I did where I stitched? I had never done it before. I stitched with those kids in the car doing the up and down. So that was funny. I was on my Southwest airline flight yesterday morning, and I had Wi-Fi. I get free Wi-Fi on the plane. So I'm going through TikTok, and that was a TikTok of my son and his friends in the car. They did a funny TikTok. So what I did was they had no idea that I was going to see it. I saw it. I stitched myself, and I did the same thing they were doing. I was bouncing up and down like they were. So they were shocked when they saw that because, what's the old man doing a TikTok and stitching himself to the teenagers' TikTok? So they were pretty happy about that. That was really cool. Upper Darby. Oh, okay. 20 minutes from, Villanova. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, yeah, I remember even when I went there, we used to drive, I forget the name of the place where they have all the houses. They lit them up with Christmas lights year round. They have Christmas lights on them year round. I remember that. And, which was really cool. And the King of Prussia Mall, I remember going there all the time with her. So yeah, no, I enjoyed visiting. And of course, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is one of my, is one of my favorite shows. It's a crazy show, but I like it. Crazy TV show. So, but it's interesting. The people that follow me on TikTok all over the country, which I really think is cool. And I like to ask about the areas that you're from too. So when I talk about things here, you can share what you do there and what happens there. It's kind of cool, Let's see. But one of our biggest customers is from Pennsylvania. Oh, so actually, the Pennsylvania Waterworks Association. So Pennsylvania Waterworks hires us every year to do their conference. So it's usually in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Where's the other place? It's it's been in the Poconos before, in Wilkes-Barre. So we go there and we set up the audiovisual for their conference. So they're one of our customers. So Toys for Tots. So it's interesting you asked the question about Toys for Tots. I've talked about this for a few years now. What I do now is any toys that we collect or gather, if my employees gather toys, when my kids were getting toys, we used to go in the basement. They got so many toys at Christmas time that they'd get duplicate toys and stuff like that. So what we did is, hey, Lisa Egan 6, how you doing? So what happened was that's a 6-year-old that follows me on TikTok. At least he's in 6. So what happens, we would gather all the toys, and I started bringing them to Hasbro Children's Hospital, which is right here in Providence. And my only philosophy on that was a sick child, whether they get one day of enjoyment or not, no matter what, they're in a hospital on Christmas time. So that's why I give the gifts. That's why we give our toys to the Hasbro Children's Hospital. And they have a really nice office that collects them, and they gather them up, and they give them out to the kids to play with. And you know what? Why not put a smile on the kid's face who's sick and in the hospital, and who knows what is wrong with them, So that's what we did. Oh, you're not 6, Lisa Egan, 6? You're not, oh, you turned 7? No, actually, Lisa, what are you, 19 now? 20. You act 6. I forget. So Lisa's been on many of my TikToks. Lisa's our extended family. She took care of my kids for a couple of years during COVID. She's away at college now. That's why she follows me on TikTok. So, in fact, her boyfriend is one of the ones that was in that video that I stitched yesterday. So he was driving the car. Yeah. Oh, so if you're a first-time investor, and if you can get a 6 unit, go for the 6. I say go for the 6. I'll tell you why. If you have 1 unit empty, think about it. See, if you have a 4 unit and you have an empty unit, now it's 25% of your building is empty. You have a 6 unit, now it's only 15% of the unit is empty. So I would say if you have the opportunity to go for the 6, go for the 6 unit. Absolutely. If you can afford it, get the 6 unit. It's easier to maintain, believe it or not, because now it's 6 units all in one building. So yeah, go for the 6. Not only that, once you have a 6, it'll be easier for you to buy more properties after that. But yeah, absolutely go for the 6. The only differences between a 4 and a 6 is being able to get a mortgage. A 6 is considered a commercial mortgage. A 4 is considered a residential mortgage. So it's different terms, different mortgage terms, different down payments, different criteria. But if you can get the 6 unit, absolutely go for it. I know you're 19. I know it. I said you were 19. So that's cool. So you do a run for pediatric cancer, 100 miles. See, I like to see that. I like to hear that. So it's interesting. I have no patience for anybody in the world. I have short temper, short patience. But for children, I have a lot of patience. For sick children, obviously. I've been involved with Special Olympics for years. I used to teach special ed. My own children, when they were young and they used to get, do something wrong, you have patience for children because they don't know any better. Adults know better. That's why I have no patience for adults. But children don't know any better, and sick children or whatever. So that's the difference. All right, I'm flying on a dress clean. Can't wait till Butler comes back again. I'm flying on a dress clean. Can't. That must be code for something. I'm trying on a dress. Make money 2237. Are you trying on a dress? Is that what you're telling everybody? And you're frying. I'm flying on a dress. What the hell are you talking about? Oh boy. So make money 22379. He's been following me for a long time, or she, and has some interesting comments. Oh, jet plane. You're flying on a jet plane or dress clean. So you have the same problem I have. Fat fingers on the keyboard or bad autocorrection. I'm flying on a dress clean. That is so funny. Anyway, where are you going on a jet plane? Yeah, that's it. It's good drugs. Where are you going on a jet plane? Make money. It makes lots of money. You going to he? Oh, Vegas. Yeah, well, there you go, Vegas. So, you've been to Vegas before. Go somewhere different. I love Vegas. I love Vegas. So Vegas was my very last trip I took before COVID. We went to Vegas in February, and COVID hit in March the next month, and that was it. We're all done. But yeah, I took the family to Vegas. We had a great time in Vegas. We went to Vegas. We went to Vegas. We went to the Grand Canyon. We went to Hoover Dam, and then we flew up to San Francisco and spent a few days in San Francisco. Oh, we also went to Sedona, Arizona too. It was a long trip. We really made a time of it. which was fun. And I'm glad we did that because it was literally the month before COVID hit and everything got shut down. So we got lucky. We got lucky taking that trip. So anyway, what time is it? All right, I got 3 minutes left. You don't pay for hotel or food. Who do you know in Vegas? Or what do you do in Vegas, I should say? Let's see, what goes on in Vegas where you don't have to pay for hotel and food? That's a tough one. Male prostitution, I don't know. Just a joke, take it back, don't shut me off or whatever. Anyway, you're going to be careful what you say now. Well, yeah, you play blackjack. Now you're after my heart because you know I love blackjack. So blackjack is one of my favorite pastimes. I don't do anything. That is one of my things. I love blackjack. I really do like blackjack. In fact, I thought we were going to go to Twin River at some point. That is true. The more you play, the more they comp you, especially in Vegas. Vegas, because of the competition. So, they talk about the hotels, they comp the players and stuff. Vegas really takes care of you because of the competition. There's so many casinos. Around here, Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun, what a joke. Twin River comps you more than those two. Hey, Ohio, how you doing? How was my day? My day sucked. Have you followed me on TikTok? My day sucked. It sucked from the very Southwest canceling my flight. Then I went on American Airlines, and the flight was delayed for an hour and a half. And then I missed my connection. And then the second flight I got on, that was delayed another hour. So that's how my day was. But then again, I did go to the Centurion Lounge. That was pretty good. So the middle of my day for 2 hours was really cool. Plus, it was something I discovered I'd never done before. The rest of my day sucked. And, of course, my day's good now. I'm home. I'm relaxed. So that's good. Yeah, 260 round trip, I know. Spirit is unbelievable. Spirit's prices are very, very good, to get to Vegas. You're absolutely right. So that's real good. So out of Boston. Yeah, well, that's okay, though. You go to Boston, so, So I don't mind flying out of Boston. In fact, that was one of my options when Southwest canceled my flight this morning. They did have me going to Boston. I didn't feel like having somebody drive up to Boston and pick me up. So that's why I made this really intelligent decision of going with American Airlines. So that was great. So instead of getting home at 12:30, I got home at 4:30. But anyway, so and that's pretty much it for tonight. Greyhound for $20, that's the best deal. To go to Boston. Yeah, exactly. Then you're there in an hour. You're right. Absolutely right. So, but anyway, so I got to get going because I have to be on the phone in 2 minutes with somebody. But I just wanted to talk to everybody tonight. I said I would do a live tonight, so I want to do my live, and I'll probably do one again this weekend because I haven't done one in a while, and it's fun. And I want to be able to answer questions. So tenants, if you have questions, think about them. Landlords, if you have questions, you want to buy property. If you want to start a waste business, I'll be glad to tell you no. Audiovisual business, I would recommend that, and of course, ice cream business. But so I don't have any sarcasm at all. What are you talking? I am everything I say. Look, I'm straight. I'm not sarcastic, a lot. But anyway, yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I do throw some funny stuff in there, some goofy stuff. I understand that, and people have to get through it. And I talk a lot, so people have to thumb through that. Like the guy today telling me I talk too much. If you don't like it, move on. But anyway. All right, well, I appreciate everything. I'm going to get going. Thank you very much for joining me. And again, thank you for following me. Thank you for liking me. And, I never ask for a follow and like, so the ones I have are all earned, and that's what I like. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Have a good night, everybody.